And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin, as always. Well, not normally joined this way, but joined here by Ross Chapalu. Normally, we would be talking right after last night's game, but seeing as it was a loss, and it was a loss before a Sunday, and nobody listens to podcasts before Sunday, I figured we would save today's show or this episode here for a Monday that features people driving to work. I do, I guess, have to apologize though to people because they were anticipating that. I greatly appreciate that people were anticipating a post game show after that one. It was because of you guys that I hopped on there and recorded a lowdown. Because you know what, you guys were right. If I'm going to call out Bill Simmons for not recording on nights that the Lakers win, I should probably hop on there and record something on nights that the Lakers lose. So that was that. Raj, have you recovered? How are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, can we just talk about Celtics Heat? That seems like a lot more fun. That seems like a lot more enjoyable
Should we call this
conversation.
a
That
pressure cooker? Should I just like rebrand everything, put the lounge behind us over here,
yeah,
and remove the lounge stuff and put the pressure cooker, branding up there?
yeah, definitely. So I'm gonna try to keep the faith as much as I can. I think it's like a 0 to 5% chance, but you're not out till you're out. LeBron James last night said if we
Hey,
have
they got
games to
Mo
play.
Bamba back.
Yes, Mo Bamba, Chris Haynes with the Mo Bamba, report. So, yeah, but yeah, that was, it was very easy yesterday to go into off season mode, but I'm gonna try to save that until we are absolutely eliminated. But I've recovered. I rewatched the game, felt a little bit better after going back and watching it and seeing how close or not close we were really to winning game three.
Not close made you feel better?
Well, like if it was like a 1 point game, I would have kind of felt worse like that we didn't come through with it. I'm like Denver was
Uh,
just better. They were just better than us. And sometimes that's a little bit more reassuring than if it was like, they won on a game winner or a Maxi Kleber three or the guy I forgot, who beat us in Indiana and all that.
Nemhard, right? I think
Nemhard,
that.
yes. Andrew
Yeah.
Nemhard. Mhm.
Um, all right. So I mean, I guess I see that, and to be honest, like I'm kind of kicking myself for the way that I bet this series. Like Denver is better, has been better. Like they've been the better team all year. Even
Yeah.
clearly before the Lakers made their trades, but at one point the Nuggets had like an 8 game lead on the rest of the West, right? They were just lapping everybody, and then they
Hmm.
took like the last month and a half off, as you can do when you're in that kind of situation. Jokic was feeling some of the crap that was coming by way of the MVP conversation, so he winds up kind of sulking his way to a second or third place finish, whatever it was, and I think we are arriving at a place or have arrived at a place where like everybody who paid any attention to Denver over the course of the season is like, oh yeah, that's right, this makes more sense. And like again, without going full Giannis and doing the whole like failure is just steps to success or whatever it was that he was saying. um like this season, and like you said, we can talk about like postseason stuff and recap it all when that time comes. But like this is a overwhelming success, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe not for like a typical LeBron James season, maybe not for a typical LeBron and AD season. I understand that point as it's made, that like, boy, how bad were things that a conference finals sweeping potentially is seen as a success, right? That like they are so far removed from that championship that this
Yeah.
is seen as success, and that's maybe a point worth making in and of itself. But regardless, under this current context, the fact that the Lakers arrived 4 wins away are still, technically 4 wins away from making a finals
Yeah.
is like it's I don't know. I'm always going to remember this season. This ride to this point has been incredible.
It's remarkable. You start 2-10, and you're just wondering. And the whole season is about since actually last February. Actually, was where's Russell Westbrook going? Right, everyone goes to summer league. Is he going for Kyrie Irving? Are we moving that trade? And that's what the whole season was about. We start the season. We start off terrible. Lonnie Walker moves to small forward. We're starting 3 guards. Kendrick Nunn. We're trying to get him to the rotation, and it was just a bunch of. It was a mess. It was chaotic. I forgot what Kevin Durant called toxic, like the situation, but it was kind of that throughout the season. And then they kind of turned it around. Anthony Davis stepped up when LeBron was out. LeBron stepped up when AD was out, and then we just made a miraculous run here. And people forget LeBron was out a month during that run. So yeah, like I'm not mad how the season ended. Look, if Jamal Murray is going to turn into Steph Curry, I'm not sure what you're really supposed to do in the first half.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray became a mix of Damian Lillard and Jamal Curry. Yeah, that's a good one. Jamal Murray turns into Steph and Dame combined in that first half. Jokic, I knew we were dead, Anthony, when Jokic didn't play the third. We ended +2. I was like, oh, that's a really bad sign, because he's about to come in absolutely fresh in the fourth quarter.
Well, on top of that, I don't think Murray scored in the third quarter. If he did, it was like he scored 4 points in the third quarter. So like he hardly made an impact in the third, and Jokic didn't play.
and LeBron and AD played the whole quarter. That's when you knew you were done. Like that's when you knew it was over. I was like, oh, that's not a good sign. The one that hurt though, especially rewatching it, was the KCP jab step, dribble left, step back over Lonnie Walker. I was like, oh, that hurts. Like we were on a run. Bruce Brown talking all this stuff, but hit some corner threes in that quarter as well, and they were just better. I think Denver outplayed us tonight. They outplayed us in game 2. Game 1 was I think they were up for most of it, but it was tough to. It's tough to go out like this. Boston going out a little more sad than us, so I have some solace. Nice. I take some solace with that. But yeah, hopefully they can get game 4 tomorrow, and we can prolong this series a little bit. But yeah, I thought, when Jokic and Murray really didn't do much, like you're talking about in the third quarter. I think Murray had 7 points in the second half, a huge 3 late, Jokic a huge 3 late, but that was our end when we could not capitalize on a whole quarter of non-Jokic minutes. That's like when teams devour the Nuggets, even when they're good. Yeah. And we weren't able to capitalize there.
Yeah, I also think, and I said this in the lowdown after the game, but one really loud signifier to me is the minutes allocation here, where Denver, you look at theirs, Gordon plays 32 minutes, Michael Porter Jr. plays 38 minutes, Jokic plays 38 minutes, Murray plays 42 minutes, KCP 34, and Bruce Brown plays 29, right? And I think, to me, if you're getting around 30 and up minutes, that means that your coach is comfortable with you being a playoff performer, right? Any less than 25 and certainly into the 20 and 15 range, that's just essentially the coach throwing you in there, praying that you don't fuck it up too bad, and then getting the people who he actually trusts back into the game, right? And you look at the Lakers, you have D'Angelo Russell and you have Jared Vanderbilt at 20 and 14 minutes. Those are starters, man. That means that essentially Darvin Ham is essentially telling you through that minutes allocation, we're hoping to survive minutes with 2 starters in there. 40% of our starting lineup is with guys that you're hoping to survive. That was part of why I didn't understand not starting Rui, right? You look at the other guys who are getting more minutes like that, right? Anthony Davis, 42, that makes sense. LeBron, 43, that makes sense. Austin Reeves getting 40 minutes, that makes sense. Rui Hachimura getting 34, I think that it's a step up from the 30 that he played previously, but he needs to be higher, right? He's been the Lakers' 4th best player. He should be getting near 40 minutes in this one. So yeah, I just in that Golden State series, it became clear through the same reasoning that Steve Kerr didn't have people beyond Steph, Clay, Wiggins, and Draymond that he trusted, right? Everyone beyond that was anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes on a kind of nightly basis. And that felt like a big advantage there for the Lakers, that they had identified more people that they trusted in larger chunks of that series. And
Hmm.
that was part of why I thought they were just like the better team here. Then you look at this series against, I think, a better team in Denver. And yeah, by that same reasoning, you look at Michael Malone, or no, Mickey, Miguelito, like he has identified his six
7.
guys,
Hmm.
that he is going to ride through this postseason, and then you have like your two guys on the peripheries of that, and yeah, I think we can go into more specifics here, but in terms of just trustability here, like over the course of the series, it's been pretty clear that there just are too many guys on the Lakers roster right now that you don't trust. You're not a baseball guy, but this
Mm-mm.
is like the worst feeling as a baseball fan is um, you go through a lineup, and you have a 9-man lineup, right? You go through that lineup, and over the course of a postseason, you start to whittle down the number of people that you trust, and like when you win a championship, there are like you have to have at least 5 guys in your lineup that you trust in pretty much any spot. And that's at least, right? Any more than that, you're feeling pretty damn good. Any less than that, and more
You're
than
talking
half
about
of the
pitchers,
time,
right? Are you talking
no,
about pitchers?
batters. Like
Oh,
like if a
batters.
batter,
Okay.
like if a batter steps to the plate and you don't necessarily trust them, or like it's a big spot, and for some reason those big spots always find guys that you're just like, please do something, please. And every so often it'll happen. Like every so often, some a batter will just completely surprise you in a spot. But like for the most part, over the course of a postseason, you find your like 5-ish guys that if a big spot comes up and they're at the plate, you're like, all right, this is a real opportunity here. The other 4 guys, or if your team is worse than that, 4, 5,
Hmm.
6 guys. And this is where I'm kind of talking about here with the Lakers. They've reached that point of no return where there are like too many guys here that you don't trust. And sometimes with the batting lineup, there are just too many guys that you don't trust, and your offense just becomes really anemic. And that's really what it's felt like watching this series here against Denver.
I actually really enjoyed the movie Moneyball. I remember it was like 3 or 4 years, 5 years
All
ago.
right.
Yeah, I liked
Yeah.
that one a lot. Yeah, I didn't learn much about baseball, but I like the salary cap stuff and learning how to like find guys and how batting percentage kind of matters more, and they kind of pay guys off the name. So I thought that was really interesting. But I think the guy really talking about here, if we're being specific, is D'Angelo Russell, right? Like that's the guy to me. And I remember during the Warriors series, you said we made Golden State adjust 3 times, and like that
Hmm.
showed that we were the better team. I thought we adjusted before they countered. So like we started the series with Dennis Schroeder starting, and we started that 3 guard lineup with D'Lo, Dennis, and Austin. Got ran off the floor in game 1.
Yeah.
Game 2, I thought we went to it a little bit as well. Again, it was terrible. We went to it again last night in game 3. I didn't understand it, and I know we're trying to get D'Lo going, and I think like what jumps off the page to me, I mean, our starting backcourt, D'Lo is in this series. He's 2 for 14 from 3 in this
Oof.
series. Austin is 13 for
With good
23.
looks too. Like there are the occasional like transition looks that he's pulling or whatever,
He-
but for the most part, like Denver has kind of sort of like realized, hey, that guy doesn't have it. Like
right, and,
they
and
aren't
that
in
and
a
that
rush to go out there and close out on him. Really
hun-
quickly before you go on, my cousin Adrian here in the Facebook comments is the Heat fan. You know what, man? I agree, choose my like. I agree because like I 100% agree that go Miami, and these guys are the only people providing me any kind of like joy watching the sport right now. But yeah, I had to acknowledge him because the comments will just literally just be champ like going.
he said, "Go,
He's
go
like
put on your Miami jersey." Do you have a Miami jersey to
I
go put
do,
on?
I
Okay,
do, I do. I have,
okay,
dude, the first Miami Vice jersey, and Wade was
okay,
still there. That was a jersey that you had to buy.
okay.
That's one of my prized possessions. I got in trouble for buying it because I did it drunk at a bar, and Jen was telling
Mhm.
me not to, but it's still worth it. It still hangs there in my closet.
Wow, they're up 30. I didn't even check the score.
Yeah, this is
For a
ass
while.
kicking.
Yeah,
I'm bummed.
thank God.
I bet well, I bet Miami's money line. That was one of the easiest bets I've made all year.
Tonight? Really?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
and then I also bet, Bam to grab 10 rebounds and Miami to win, and that was like plus 500. And Bam is not going to get to 10 rebounds. He is
I
not going
didn't.
to.
He doesn't have to play,
No,
which is
he's not going
great.
to play in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I thought, I didn't think Boston was going to go out sad like this, but just connecting the two, D'Angelo Russell not playing well
Yeah.
in his head. They are going at him. They are physically attacking him every single possession. It's a license to shoot when D'Angelo Russell is guarding you, which is a crazy thing to say. Like D'Lo, he's not a great defender, but they have picked on him to the point where they're like, I don't care if it's KCP, if it's Bruce Brown. Jamal Murray, I think, has a license to shoot once he steps in the building. But like those other two are like, if you have D'Lo on you, you're aggressive. And I think it hurt him on the other end. That turnover in the third quarter, Anthony, when we were on our run, he
Mm.
comes off the pick and roll, throws it right into KCP's hands. And they are so far back. They're treating him as the most non-shooter in the world. And he's taking threes that are contested. He doesn't know which one's open and not. But you compare this to the Miami Heat. When Duncan Robinson stopped playing well, they were like, you're not playing. Like, I don't care what you get paid. You are
Yeah.
sitting on the bench. Max Strus is, they keep saying this undrafted. He's part of the undrafted crew, right? I think so. Him, Vincent,
Probably.
and yeah. So like Max Strus starting over Duncan Robinson because they're like, you're just playing better. And I'm not saying to bench D'Angelo Russell that way. I'm not sure we have the talent to allocate where we can make up for him. But I think last
I
night was a
am.
game where okay.
I'll say it. He shouldn't be playing anymore.
Yeah.
He's terrible. He has had one of the most counterproductive series I have seen in a long time, let alone for somebody at his salary bracket. Like, this is, in any context, one of the worst series I have ever seen. This has been
Yeah.
unreal.
He's been terrible in the three games, and I think it's sad because I think he had his playoff moments in the last two.
Hmm.
We're not here without him, in my opinion, in some of the games he won for us. But yeah, I think like last night I was surprised. I thought they would start Dennis and Rui. I thought that was just clear. The numbers bore that out. That was our best lineup: Dennis, Rui, LeBron, AD, and Austin. But D'Lo was bad, and I thought that was a night where you had to not play him. Especially after that first quarter, Jamal Murray turned into, we just talked about Steph Curry, and a lot of that, like D'Lo's rotations, I thought were super slow. Thought in transition defense he was bad. Again, on switches he's getting picked on. And then Anthony, we started it again in the third quarter. Like he
Oh
came
my
out
god.
there.
Oh my god. I when I say I was angry, so little like behind the scenes, I'll bring you guys behind the curtain. I haven't been able to do the playbacks thing because of a different policy that is now in place as it pertains to streaming rights and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I watched this game with Jen last night, and when I have the freedom to do that, when I don't have to be here in my office, I will move around the house depending on like where the Lakers go on a run with. It is that time of year where I'm doing whatever I can. How stupid as superstitions might be, I can't help myself. So one of the spots that has been pretty consistently pretty good for me, we have this island in our great room that I can sit at, and there's like one spot in that island that it like still directly faces the TV. So I was sitting there, and Jen was sitting there on the couch, which is like almost exactly halfway between me and the TV, and I see the starting group here in that second half, and I'm sitting there at the at the island, and I just like slam my hand down, just like, what the fuck? And Jen's like, nothing's happened yet, and I'm like, oh, just wait. Just wait. Either they're barely going to survive or this is going to be disastrous. And I believe it was disastrous, if I remember correctly. It didn't go very well.
No, it was awful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just beside myself with anger, and I started texting other people around the league, and I was kind of wondering, and one of my kind of running theories on that front has been that the Lakers don't want to piss off D'Angelo Russell going into the to his free agency, because they're concerned, like, the thing that can't happen this summer is losing him for nothing, right? If he's going to leave, then you got to hope that you can get him and another team to agree to a sign and trade where you can keep that salary slot open at the absolute least.
Yeah.
And And I've been wondering, and I kind of asked around the league to the extent that I can, hey, like is this, do you think, playing a role here? And they said, well, you also got to keep in mind the Aaron Mintz thing, that he and Rob Pelinka didn't really see eye to eye there as it pertained to Julius Randle. And yeah, I've been wondering, and I can't say this definitively enough to do any kind of reporting or anything, but I have been wondering, like, hey, everybody else can see that this guy doesn't belong in this series. And I know that he's trying to, like, Ham is like trying to mitigate the damage that he can do by like limiting the number of minutes that he's playing. But if you're starting a guy and you're hurting AD LeBron minutes, then you're playing with a hand behind your back. And it's made me wonder, is something else there going on? I'm not saying that you'd be able to speak on it one way or the other, but it's such a clear mistake here that I don't think Ham is that bad a coach that he wouldn't be able to acknowledge this. And it's been so obvious that it forces me to wonder what else might be going on.
Yeah, and I honestly
But I'm
think like
pissed.
yeah, no, and then I honestly thought Darvin's trying to get him going, and just even more here. So I know you must have been if you slapped your hand there, I can't imagine what you did when you saw he was starting the fourth quarter. But so we were on playback, and then Shove I think said Aaron said that D'Lo starting the fourth because Aaron's obviously at the game. I was like, there's no way D'Lo is starting the fourth. He's like, yeah, he just tweeted it. I was like, there's no way. And D'Angelo Russell comes out in the fourth quarter, and we go down really quick. I think like 4 or 5 or 6 points. D'Lo again tries to get going. I think that was when the turnover happened. I don't remember correctly, but yeah. And then I remember D'Lo walked off the floor, like just threw his hands in the air, like kind of, I can't believe what's going on. And then again, he didn't play after that. He played like the first 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah, I thought last night was a game where, I think Darvin's saying like our ceiling, like if D'Lo's going, that's when this team's at its best, though, right? Like in my opinion, like I think this team looks its best when D'Lo's confident, and he's such a player that like feeds off his own swagger and feeds off like his own confidence and being and kind of living with the crowd and having a symbiotic relationship with the crowd. When he's not that, though, his floor is he drops to such a level that really hurts the team. And I thought last night he did 20 minutes isn't a ton. But I mean, going 1 for 8,
But they were all such important minutes, though.
Yeah.
The beginning of the game, the beginning of the second half, the beginning of the fourth quarter. And again, like this is when your starters normally play in those spots. And it's not just the 20 minutes. And again, it's in those 20 minutes, a lot of times it's with one of either AD or LeBron, or usually both. And if you're sinking the both minutes, as he has been this series, your team doesn't have a chance. Like it's just over, and that's what it's been so far.
Yeah, for sure. He shouldn't have played, and I thought again the Rui minutes were confusing to me. I don't know why he didn't start the game either. I thought it was clear you needed a punch from the get go, and he didn't go. He didn't go to it. He went to D'Lo and trusted his guy, and D'Lo just didn't pay it off, and it sucks because Austin was incredible again. Another 20 points for him. Anthony Davis, I thought, played really well, had a bounce back game as he said he would. And you got nothing from your guards, but I mean, that's multiple, right? Dennis Schroeder also, I think, had a really bad game. 5 points, 2 for 5. Your starting backcourt goes what, like 2 for 12, 2 for 13. Like that's or your two guards, like that's a terrible way, to run offense. In Denver, Jamal Murray went off third quarter, KCP and Bruce Brown go off, and then Jokic put us away. And look, Anthony, it's too late now, right? Like you're down 0-3. You're not going to bench D'Angelo Russell now, would you? Like for game 4, like is that a place you do it, or you think this is kind of a lost cause here, where might as well just go back to the well that you've been going to this whole time, or do you think it's still time to like still bench D'Lo?
No, I you still have to try to win the series, right? Because like, what message are you sending to the guys if this guy's going to continue to be this terrible? And the mantra going into the season was facts over feelings. And you benched an all like Hall of Famer, a top 10 player ever at his position. And you got him to come off of the bench in the name of sacrificing for the team. And now you're not going to be able to do that here with D'Angelo Russell? Like, a one-time All-Star? You're going to have a different set of rules here for a one-time All-Star versus like a Hall of Famer, and say what you will about Russ, but that stuff matters in the locker room. So like, I honestly thought and this is not quantifiable or whatever beyond just the score while those guys were out there and the vibes, but this is the vibes aspect of it. That when D'Angelo Russell starts in that spot, I do kind of wonder if everybody like in that group also looks around and is like, we're doing this again. We're still here. This is same thing at the beginning of the second half too. Like, why, coach? Have you been watching? You know, and especially when the other team is targeting
every
D'Angelo
time.
Russell the way that he is, and it's hurting your defense. He's not making his shots. He's turning the ball over. He's clearly in his own head. Like, that's the kind of stuff these guys have played a zillion more minutes of basketball that you and I could ever dream about. If we can see that stuff, you know, through the TV, imagine how it feels like up close and personal on the court with him. Like it makes me wonder in that spot, like if everybody when Russell starts, they're like, we're still trying to win, right? Like the priority here is winning this season, or series. So yeah, I know that this series is likely sunk, and this Lakers season is likely toast. But I do think, and Ham is also the kind of guy who's going to go down swinging.
Sure.
I you have to send a message to the rest of your team that you're still fighting to stay in the series. And sorry, D'Lo, you don't have it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. You know, I wouldn't predict Darvin Ham to do that. And I think if you take D'Lo out, then you also have to take Vanderbilt probably
Yeah.
out because right, because if you Dennis again, if we went to Dennis and Vanderbilt together again.
Yep.
I'm not understanding that part of it. And Denver went on.
I'm still waiting for a Dennis and Vanderbilt pick and roll at this point.
Yeah, let's just make it worse. Let's involve both of them in the action.
It's like there's such a disconnect between like what's actually working there with those two guys out there. I'm just like, all right, well, is there a DHO coming? Are we gonna get Dennis Schroeder, the screen setter here for Jared Vanderbilt, the ball handler?
Oh man, yeah. And Vando only played 14 minutes, so it's not like he played a ton. But we went to those, and that was that third quarter. That was the non-Jokic minutes. We went to the Dennis, Vando, Rui, LeBron, and I think it was D'Lo lineup. Got ran off the floor. KCP, Bruce Brown killed us in transition, and that was kind of the game. But yeah, that's where it's tough. And I think Darvin Ham wants to go down with his guys. Like I do think I think that's a part of it. And I think he doesn't think that making that starting lineup change, will is everything right now. And that's the tough part about it.
And there's also the organizational aspect of it too. Because again, what the Lakers cannot afford this year is losing him outright for nothing, right? Like if people wonder, like if he's going to get overpaid, if he does, it's because the Lakers can't afford to just like lose that salary slot. You need to having an inflated salary sheet, cap sheet, all that does is expand your margin for error. And yeah, you know that you're making an error here, and eventually you're going to have to trade him for somebody who can play at this portion of the season. But what you can't afford here is just to because essentially that would be like, for one thing, you traded a first rounder, albeit protected, for the guy. Like he was the biggest name coming back in that trade. Mm-hmm. And secondly, at that point, especially I don't know what their plans are with Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt is only making $4 million next year. You're like a hop, skip, and a jump away from just letting Russell Westbrook's contract expire in terms of asset management. And clearly it isn't that, because the Lakers had the season that they did because they didn't do that. But yeah, I just, again, I cannot. This is the way that my brain works, and this is how PR works, right? And I come from that background. When you don't get a clear explanation for something, when you don't tell your story, it allows or forces everybody else to tell your story for you. And if you keep making the same mistake over and over and over again, beyond any explanation, it forces people to wonder what that explanation might be here. And he so clearly isn't made for this series. He probably isn't made for the next one either, if they somehow get there.
Yeah.
And it's just it forces you to tell the story for them, because we aren't getting any kind of clarity here. Not that we
Right. And
would, but still.
yeah, I just like it's hard for me. Maybe I'm just, naive to the situation. I can't buy that like contract negotiation or wanting to keep D'Angelo Russell happy is something to do with if we can keep we're in the conference freaking finals. Like 4 wins away from the championship. Like you said the facts over feeling stuff, but if your name's not LeBron James or Anthony Davis, like I'm sorry. Like all that to me should be thrown out the window. So I'm going to just again, being naive, believe that Darvin Ham's thinking here is that D'Angelo Russell, because he is the most talented guard on the team, as good as Austin Reeves is, as hard as Dennis Schroeder plays, D'Angelo Russell
Yeah.
has all the talent in the world. Like he has all the things to like if he put his mind to it, not like that this is all intention,
It's
but
kind of
like
misplaced or whatever, but yeah.
yeah, sure. Like if he tried the way that like if you put Dennis Schroeder's motor into D'Angelo Russell, I think you have a little bit of a different player there.
Yeah.
But D'Lo's makes the contract that he does because of his scoring ability. I just like
Yeah.
I think D'Lo's ability to shoot the ball. That's why he's here, and that's what makes it so frustrating to me. I know you keep bringing up that he should impact the game in other ways. Like he's here because he can shoot the ball off.
Oh,
the dribble,
absolutely.
like, right, and if he can't do that. That's troubling to me, and I don't think the answer was ever cut him fully out the rotation. We don't have the talent depth, in my opinion, to like weather that. Where you just throw D'Angelo Russell out of the rotation, I don't think we would be able to win. And he's had games where like he's terrible, and then against the Warriors, game 4, 3 straight threes, right, put us back up 2. Start the game in game 6, I think he had like 3 threes to put us up early. Like he's a hot and cold player. It's just like it sucks to see Denver go at him and him not respond to it with any type of force. He responded by deferring and being and questioning himself, and that's stuff that happens in playoff series. He's not a star, so like I think I have a little bit more in terms of like what I expect for him. But it's tough to watch him go through this, and this is what happens to some players. There's a point of basketball where it gets too intense, and some guys just aren't playable in those situations. And maybe he's one of those guys. I just can't believe that this is a contract thing. Like that feels like worrying about the wrong things. Like that, I feel like your priorities are all messed up. If you're like, oh, we got to play D'Angelo Russell in this must-win game because he might be sad. Like they keep showing him shooting after the
They
game.
literally leaked that, Raj.
I know, but like
it was an actual report that they were like, they could remove one of Dennis Schroeder or D'Angelo Russell here for Jared Vanderbilt, or to get somebody else in there that presents more size. And they're concerned that if they do that, they might lose D'Angelo Russell. Like that was an actual report.
All right, okay, let me ask you this. You've been in PR. Who does that report like help? I don't like. Does D'Lo think that like that's like a threat, or is that help? Like I don't like. I remember I think you or someone said like anything that comes out, try to think about like who benefits from it. I don't understand. Like the fan base, that doesn't help them. They're like, really, D'Lo? Like it's conference finals, and you're like, hey, well, don't take me out of the starting lineup. But for the team, like you don't, or like even the team side, hey, Darvin Ham, you don't have the, you don't have the decision making power to pull him on your own accord. I don't know who helps. So let me ask you that: who benefits from that? I really don't know.
My instinct was that it was a means to light a fire under Russell without like pulling him from the lineup, right? Where it's kind of like, hey, this is something we could do. And this is something that would potentially make some sense here. But we need you, man. Like we need you to get it going. And so it felt to me like something from, some assistant coach or whatever, trying to get through to Russell and get him out of his head. Because like the thing is, I have questions about his physical tools in like as you get further into the playoffs, right? We've talked about it. He's not very fast, so he's not going to take advantage of switches when they switch on screens.
Sure.
He's not like overly physical, so he's not going to punish smaller guards who are up against him too. And he's like a streaky shooter, but like streaky in a way that doesn't normally translate to the postseason. So like there are physical explanations for why he's having the series that he's having. But also, like you said, he's taking contested threes, passing up on open ones. He's not taking the shots in the mid-range when they're playing in the deep drop against them for some reason. Like he's so far in his own head that it felt to me like some coach just basically going like, "Hey man, we like this is something we could do, but we're not. This is something we could do, but we're rolling with you, man. But we need you." That's kind of how I took it.
So we've watched D'Angelo Russell for a few months now. Like, do you think that going at him like in that manner he would respond that way? Like you talked about it earlier. I forgot who asked the question, but like, hey, you as the point guard, you're not. Why are you not assisting? He's like, I'm not a point guard. Like that was
Yeah.
like, like I just don't think that's the way he was going to respond to this. I'm not. I don't know. Like if there's any way to get him to get going, I think this is just him. He needs to hit shots. You talked about the deep drop that.
But how do you help that happen though? Like I just think like I think it's a team that's desperate to get their lead baller, I guess is what position he thinks he
Yeah,
plays. Like they need and also like you mentioned the way that he picks up off of like the momentum that is already around him. He is kind of a front runner. Like, there's that going on. But also like the rest of the team does really respond when he does that stuff, right?
100%.
When he has his, when he hit those three threes back to back to back, the rest of the bench went freaking bananas because when they do something, he's also one of the first person, usually the first person to like slap them on the butt, pick them up when they fall down, whatever it is. So like I think he's a well liked guy in this locker room, and I do think everybody there understands how much they need him. But also like he's so clearly in his head that beyond the conversations that I'm sure have happened within team walls or whatever, I do kind of think it was like, hey, look, we've tried everything else. What else can we do here to remind this guy how important he is here, how desperately we need him to just like get out of his head, like
Yeah,
actually like you mentioned like the making shots aspect of it. So much goes into making a shot, right?
sure.
It's kind of like, like we look at like the best shooters and D'Angelo Russell when he's on, looks so effortless, right? He
Hmm.
barely leaves the ground. The ball just kind of like explodes out of his hands there, he makes these shots so casual or whatever. And it looks easy when it's happening. But like if you just watch like D'Angelo Russell's shot, he utilizes his like right hand more than most really good shooters. Because he doesn't elevate off of the floor as much. It means that he's using a lot more upper body than most shooters are, and he shoots so much off of the dribble that you're trying to manage all of that stuff while you're typically moving too. So and also like because he isn't elevating, it means defense is going to affect him more than guys who do get off of the floor, right? And like so much goes into him making a shot, anybody making a shot, but him making a shot for a few extra explanations there. And like I really think like he is really damned if going into the shot he's clearly aiming it, right. And you look at most of his misses right now, they aren't back iron. They aren't like back iron that you look like they have a shot. It's front iron stuff.
Airball.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's air balls. It's misses left and right too, which is really rare for even like a decent shooter.
Hmm.
So yeah, like it's just and by the way, like the misses left and right, that's what happens when you use your right hand, your offhand more in your shot than most other shooters. It's just there's a lot going on there, and I it really felt to me like the team just kind of throwing up their hands, being like, we got to get through to this guy somehow. Here's this extra little thing.
Yeah, look, it's a lot on
Might be a
D'Lo.
miscalculation though. Might like to your point, it might just be a miscalculation.
Yeah, and like I guess the issue isn't more him making or not, like obviously I think it's his like aggression, his tone. Like he's too skilled to me to be removed from the offense because he's not making shots. And I don't like again comparing them isn't fair. But like look at Austin, right? When he's cold, he's like, all right, I'm gonna get to the line. Like I'm getting you on my back and I'm getting fouled. I'm coming off of screens and there's nothing you can do. Once I'm in front of you, you're gonna either have to jump on my back or I'm getting a mid-range shot. And like to me, D'Lo has all of those tools in his box. Like he has
Well,
every one of those.
to
In
to
every one
to
of those
that
tools.
to that exact point, you just said it's not fair to compare Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell, and usually you would say that the other way around, right? Usually you would
Yeah.
say it's not fair to judge, an undrafted player compared to a second overall pick or whatever. He was a second overall pick, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not fair to like normally you would compare him that way. You wouldn't compare him because of that reasons, but you're sitting here saying like actually it's not fair to,
Well,
to
the
compare D'Angelo Russell to Austin Reeves.
yeah, well, I guess the unfair part to me was like Austin's just hot as well. Like he's shooting 13 for 23 from three. So I'm like, I'm not trying to compare them to him in terms of like how hot he is and how cold D'Lo is. It's just the style and the aggression, right? Like even when Austin was cold in the Warrior series, none of us were like, yeah, bench Austin Reeves. Like like no one said that when he wasn't hitting a 3-point shot because he's doing
Yeah.
a bunch of other stuff, and that's the part with D'Angelo Russell. It's similar to me. Remember when Malik Beasley was playing terrible, but like still once he caught it, he was shooting. I was like, someone's telling him like that's your role on this team. Like you come in and you just fire. And Malik Beasley in his head, he's like, oh, I'm not even gonna look for the dump off pass. Why would I do that? They are telling me to shoot right off the catch. Like he doesn't. I'm not sure if Malik Beasley has had an assist this year. Like he just comes into the game and just it doesn't matter what the defense is. He's firing.
It is like entire life. Like do you think back when he was like in like the first like clinic, right? Clinic is like the first level of basketball where you like dribble through cones and
Sure.
and you learn how to like use your left hand and stuff, and you learn how to like physically throw a pass. That like they go to Beasley and he's just like, no, like Bees, you got to throw it. You got to throw it back. You're playing catch. No, I'm gonna shoot.
Yeah, so Beasley averaged like 1 assist a game this year, which is more than I actually thought he would.
Lies.
But yeah,
Absolute
but
lie. I don't believe you at
they're
all.
probably like last minute lobs and stuff like that. But no,
It's from the Memphis scorekeeper. He's like
just give him one.
yeah. Nobody will notice. We're good.
Oh man. But yeah, like I feel like D'Lo's being told the same thing. Come out and shoot threes, and he's taking a ton of off the dribble ones. And Denver's doing a nice job like putting back pressure and stuff. But again, to me, he's too good to be taken out of a game, and he's been taken out of a series, which is concerning. Like that's a little concerning. And maybe he can still, come back. There's still a game tomorrow, and hopefully multiple ones coming to where maybe he can redeem himself from this series. But him being taken out completely of a series is a little bit concerning to me, but he's too skilled for that. And then hopefully someone can get in his ear, go attack Jamal Murray every single time, take him to the post, get to the line, attack KCP, use their force against them. That's stuff that all is in his box to be able to do. And he just hasn't this series. He's been taken out mentally and physically. And Denver smartly, they decided like D'Angelo Russell was the guy we are going to target, and they got him. So congrats to them on that.
Yep. All right. So let's look ahead to this next one. You kind of started the conversation, by wondering if we think that the Lakers will bench D'Angelo Russell. I think they should. It makes all the sense in the world. As we watch, you and I are talking, it is 4:43 left to go here, and Miami is up 112 to 83 on Boston. Boston going out. Wait, it's funny. The Miami right now in their first home game or whatever, they always do this. They have the whiteout, right? Jason Tatum shows up wearing all white. It's just he still hasn't made a shot in the fourth quarter. Like,
man,
in this series. But anyway, the Lakers, by the time you guys are listening to this, unless you listened to it live or checked it out since then on YouTube or whatever, tonight the Lakers are going to be playing Game 4. It is a home game. Absolutely, clearly, this is the must win, right? Their first quote unquote must win or actual must win of the postseason, where you win or your season is over. This is not a, what do we call it, right? Like,
ask your mom game or something like that.
On your mom, like on my mom game, on my mom, on my mom game, on my mama game. This is an actual must win here. So, I because of that, I think, they wind up making a change here. If we do see D'Angelo Russell, it's with the second unit where Jamal Murray specifically can't hunt him the way that he has. Because it's different when it's like Bruce Brown or KCP hunting you than it is with like Jamal Murray, like the hottest person on the face of the planet. So I think they do change that starting lineup. and I think they do wind up winning it. This is too resilient a group, I think, to get swept, to get all the way here and get swept,
Yeah.
especially at home. But Denver's also really effing good. Like they're just it might not necessarily matter. Like the Lakers have gotten every version of a game so far. They had the crazy comeback game in game 1. They had the really hot shooting game and the free throw disparity game in game 2. They had the home game in game
Yeah.
3. And with it that it hasn't mattered. Denver is just, I think, that much better. But I still want to believe that they pick up this one here.
Me too. And Denver played their final card, which the Lakers had no answer for in the fourth quarter. They just decided Aaron Gordon's not going to play anymore, because he was hurting them. What a concept. No, I'm just kidding. But like they took out Aaron Gordon and they put Bruce Brown in for Aaron Gordon.
That's the meanest thing Raj is ever gonna.
No,
That
I
was
feel
like a
bad.
sarcastic Raj moment. You've been
bad.
doing these shows with me too long.
Yeah, I feel bad for that. Honestly.
Benching bad players. What a notion. How about that?
That was unnecessary. But no. So that was that was there. There was no need for me to be mean like that, But the worst after you explained it. I thought I went right over it. But but Denver played their final card. They took out Aaron Gordon, put in Bruce Brown, and the Lakers just did not know what to do. You can't roam off of that. They had inverted screens with Jamal Murray screening for Jokic every single time. And honestly, I'm not sure what the answer is there, really. There's no good one. It's leave Bruce Brown open, who for some reason feels like this is some revenge game for him, even though he never played here and just hates our team for some reason. So,
I think he's just
I hope
generally that kind of player.
Maybe. But yeah, I think the Lakers can still win game 4. But my concern, Anthony, in the second quarter, I don't even remember this. Denver went up 10, and our body language was like the series was over. That was extremely concerning to me. And the only reason we started to come back is Lonnie Walker actually hit a 3 to cut it back to 7, and then our energy kind of picked up. But I was like, oh, it's second quarter here. The guys know it's a 2-0 series. It's not over yet. But yeah, that's my concern. Every 3-0 series has a moment.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, though. Like them picking up on, like, we know that we can't keep starting this guy. Like,
I'm not blaming all that on D'Lo. That's a lot to.
No, I'm not blaming it specifically on D'Lo, like him, the player, person, whatever. I'm just saying, like,
we're actively harming
these guys have played enough basketball to know that this guy doesn't belong in this series, or certainly in this role, right? Maybe he can play in this series in a different role, but starting and allowing Jamal Murray to just get going right from the tip by targeting D'Angelo Russell is just, I do kind of, like, if we're noticing it, if I'm noticing it, these guys who have played a lot more basketball than me are certainly noticing it. And yeah, I do find myself wondering, when they're so immediately dejected and they don't come out with the necessary energy. Yeah, I just thought it makes me wonder.
Yeah, that concerned me a little bit. And I think in any 3-0 series, there's a point in game 4 where like the team that's up 3-0 can really take a stranglehold of the series. Like there's a point to me in every one of those. And I think Denver is going to get that point, and hopefully the Lakers can push through that. And yeah, like tomorrow's a game, throw everything, throw caution at the win, put in Rui Hachimura, play him 40. Austin Reeves needs to touch 40 minutes. And I hope D'Lo can have some impact on the game. Like I think it would be disappointing for him to go into the summer with 4 straight duds. Like that's really bad momentum, not just for his contract and us bringing him back, whatever. I think that would be really unfortunate, because I do think there were really good spots, during this postseason run where he really impacted the game and helped us win. So I think that would be really disappointing if he couldn't make that adjustment. But Denver's also really just freaking good. That's the way I think most people should come away from the series, is that Denver is really, really good, and Nikola Jokic might be stamping his name among the greats of the greats. Like that might be what's happening. And also Jamal Murray turning into Steph Curry. Like he missed 3 shots in the first half, had 30. Like I'm not, and we were only down 3. That's what I was excited about. I was like, you withstood the Jamal Murray like avalanche. LeBron James was not playing well. I think he had like 10 points at halftime. Anthony Davis didn't really dominate the game, even though his points were there. He's another guy that I guess we can get into too. But And we withstood that. And then third quarter, you started that starting lineup again. I think that it's the combination of D'Lo with Vanderbilt as well out there. D'Lo not offensive threat right now, and then Vanderbilt, who obviously doesn't give you anything. It just allows Denver to just set their defense too many times, and we weren't able to score on them. But I think we can still win tomorrow, Anthony. I'm gonna keep the faith. Let's keep this season going one more game.
Yeah, I also think that they, like I said, like it takes a really resilient group to go from 2-10 to immediately responding the way that they did after they made the trades to losing LeBron even after you build that momentum and staying in the race and going from the 13th seed with like a few weeks before the playoffs to winning a play-in game and winning a series against Memphis and winning a series against the reigning champs. I would be pretty. The only outcome heading into this series that I said would outright and completely shock me would be the Lakers getting swept. And we'll see. It might not matter how resilient the Lakers are. Like Denver is, like you're saying, really effing good, and there just aren't very many answers when a coach sits a player who is holding a team back. And that is the better team. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they approach this one. It's going to be interesting to see, like, beyond how they approach it, how quickly they adjust and stuff. Because, like, even if D'Angelo Russell starts, you have to think that Rui will be in there really, really quickly if Russell doesn't have it going. Yeah, I mean, this is. I'm also, like you said, I want to see how AD handles this one. He likes to say that he, doesn't listen to the nonsense about every other game, and he doesn't listen to the criticism about like his availability and stuff like that. Which is all lies. Like like all these guys pay attention to all of that stuff, especially if it's like Shaq, one of the greatest players ever at his position, who is like lobbying some of that, offering up some of that criticism. I think he has been mostly really good in this series. He has been so good that the two-time MVP here probably shouldn't be the Western Conference MVP or whatever, Western Conference Finals MVP. I think that should be Jamal Murray right now. If I had a vote on it, I would vote for Murray in this one. And so like it takes a lot for AD to play even enough with Jokic to make it so that Jokic doesn't win that award or whatever. But it's going to take another really good big game. And like the other thing too is if Denver does go to those lineups without Aaron Gordon out there, then the Lakers have to punish them by just absolutely relentlessly pursuing the rim, right? Like they have to, AD has to dunk Murray through the basket, whole body and all. Same goes for LeBron, right? They have to, because that's a very small team, and a very like bad defensive front court that Denver would be utilizing there. And if the Lakers can, force those guys to have to foul to have a chance at being physical enough with them. The other thing too is I'm curious what the impact on Aaron Gordon would be now that Mike Malone has gone away from him, and now that we've seen, like, he had a shot, it was like a mid-range jumper from like the top of the key that almost was an air ball, because like he very clearly took it like because he felt like he had to take the shot, right? It wasn't a confident shot. And then he gets benched, and then Denver winds up going on the run without him. So like look, you have to just win one game at a time, and winning Game 5 back in Denver is going to be damn near impossible. But yeah, I do think that the way that the Lakers punish Denver for going that kind of small is through AD, and it is through LeBron James, and we still like Jokic felt like he was trying to get in foul trouble at the first part of Game 3 with his approach there. We still haven't seen that like early in the game. It's one thing to have that happen in the third quarter, but early in the game where that guy just isn't a factor at all from the get-go. So, yeah, I really think that like, on top of, I'm really curious how Ham handles this, but I think far more importantly, I want to see how LeBron and AD, in one of the few playoff games that they've been able to play in front of a loud money laundering arena.com, money laundering.com arena. Like I want to see how they go out and how, the amount of respect that they kind of show for the fans there, in
Yeah.
what could be what is probably their last home game there.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, the best defense is a good offense. I've been saying that all series, and you can't let Michael Porter Jr. and Bruce Brown be able to play power forward like that. That can't happen. Like you got to be able to go through them, or Jeff Green as well. Like Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, MPJ. You got to put those guys in the basket, and that's something I think Mike Malone will only go to when they're up. That feels like a baseball change up, or like a switch up for them, instead of like what their actual defense will be. And Aaron Gordon hit a three last night, and that felt like 6 points. I remember he hit a corner three, it put them up 12. So yeah, and look, I'm interested how LeBron approaches it as well. LeBron in this series, Anthony, is 3 for 19 from three. That's just painful. Like that's really tough. That's like we're shooter in the league type of level stuff, and that just really hurts your stability on offense when the guy who's going to handle the ball a ton just can't shoot from outside the paint. Like that's really destructive. So he went 3 for 9 last night. Hopefully that's a linear curve up for him where he shoots a little bit better. But I thought last night as well, we talked a lot about D'Lo, but I thought that was a game where LeBron needed to take the knockout punch, or at least hit a few, however boxing works. But like he needed to like land a few blows, and he just could not land any at the time that they needed to. Oh, he took one where we were on a run, we were up one, and he took a transition three. I was like, oh, that's not it. That's not the one. Like we're on a huge run here. Just get a layup or get to the basket. But yeah, he needed to, like, he scored 23 last night. Like to me, that's not enough in 43 minutes. No disrespect to the age and all that, but like the Lakers needed more. 22 in game 2 in 40 minutes. Like those two, like I think the team needs his offensive punch here as much as a playmaker that he's been, and he had 12 assists last night, so he was awesome at that. But just too many times Denver like is backing up, and he needs to finish those. Anthony Davis as well had a few where like he tried to soft is not the word, but like he tried to lay it up like and avoid contact, and some of those you just gotta dunk those. Like you got like those need to be and ones a lot more than they are.
The foul that like they challenged and didn't get overturned or whatever.
Yeah,
you're wide open under the basket, man. If you get fouled, it should be an and one on a dunk. Like, and I tweeted that out, and people were like, "Oh, you can always tell who hasn't played basketball." For I'm like, I'm the one. Like, this man is 7 feet tall, has like a 36-inch vertical. Is like specifically built to play the sport. That guy can dunk it there. I don't care if Jokic like fouls him or whatever, and he barely like caught him on his back. Like they barely caught. I think they kept the foul because there was some contact down around like the back of the leg or something weird like that. Like it was. I thought for sure it was going to get overturned. Probably should have still been overturned in my opinion. And like he missed the layup, and sometimes like every so often at this stage of my life, if I get hurt, doing something, it's often like I'll look at, so the most recent time that I like cut myself cooking, I was in the kitchen and I was cutting up lemons, and you know how like the end of a lemon has the part that like attaches to the tree still, right? There's like a little bit of the stem there left even after it gets removed from the tree. And I was like, I wonder if this knife is like sharp enough to cut through that too, right? And then the knife slides off of that thing and like sinks into my finger,
Oh.
And like when that happened, I was like, yeah, I deserve that, like, and like, so AD on that one, instead of like dunking, hanging on the rim, landing on his feet and like, and like being okay there, he like, tries that stupid double pump thing, misses the layup, falls for no real reason, and then Aaron Gordon steps on his finger, and that was one of those moments where you're like, yeah, I probably deserve that. That's the dumb gods out there that are just like, Yeah, you know what? Here's a smack upside your head. Just do the thing that you can do. Like just do like there's no need to double pump there and he like went into that shot double pumping. And, like, I tweeted out the clip that Bam had today where he like hard dribble to his right, spin
Oof.
move in a way that isn't like, can't be called a charge because he actually like changed direction on the spin. And then he like, collects himself and explodes up to the rim, right?
Oh
His
yeah.
his elbows were at the rim, and you see like the full extension where you see the arcing in the back, and it was like perfectly shot camera wise because they like zoomed out because they knew it was about to the arena was about to explode. He's just like boom, and I just said like I said it to Jen and I tweeted it out. I was like, when was the last time we saw AD do that?
Yeah.
And you can't tell me like there are people. He's gone through a lot more injuries than Bam. It's like, okay, he's 30, man. Like he barely turned 30. He was in his 20s a few weeks ago, like or a few months ago. Like this is not some like 37-year-old guy. And like by the way, the 38-year-old guy that is actually on this roster he fumbled the ball out of bounds trying to rock the rock the cradle on a dunk. Like that guy's actually trying to get above the rim and do crazy shit.
Yeah.
And like at some point, AD, I know he has phenomenal touch. Like one of the more skilled finishers in that regard in the
Yep.
NBA, but also he's one of the most talented physical specimens the league has ever seen. And occasionally, I just want to see the guy's armpits at the rim, like just once. I just want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see him explode. I want him to bring like even like the alley oops that he's getting right now. It's barely like kind of forearm above the rim. When was the last
Not
time
what
we
it used
saw
to
like?
be.
Yeah, when was like I remember the second time Dwight was a Laker, right? Or the first time Dwight was a Laker, and he was fresh off of back surgery, you know. So at least there was like some and AD, we'll find out after the season how not 100% he is. He still has the stress fracture thing,
Sure.
and that's worth noting here. But like he hasn't had a stress fracture thing all year. He hasn't had a stress fracture thing for 2 years. We don't see that kind of explosiveness out of him anymore. And I remember with Dwight, like every so often he would have that Dwight dunk.
Every
You know
few
what I'm
games.
talking
Yeah.
about? Like
Yeah.
that dunk where he like he has the ability to gather himself. He keeps the ball relatively high so people aren't going to knock the ball out of his hands. And he goes up and he dunks it and he brings his like knees up to him while he's hanging there on the rim. He just looks so fucking impressive. And like I remember like every so often we would get that and I'm like, hey, maybe just maybe he's on his way back because I remember him doing a lot more often when he was in Orlando. And then here with AD that first year. Go back. I want people to go back and look at how explosive he was, not just in
It
the
was
bubble,
insane.
but like his first game with the Lakers. Just find that on YouTube. Find those highlights of his first game as a Laker, and he's trying to dunk from like the free throw line. Like he's
Yeah.
going like 1-2 step from barely within the free throw line, and he's trying to dunk. We just don't see that from him anymore. When he's going up to finish, he's looking to lay it up, and like it. That's just not enough. I don't think
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, and he's costing himself points by doing that. It's a lot of. It's funny. I told you before we started, but like him and Bam get compared sometimes. I remember like they're power bigs with a lot of finesse in their game too. And Bam's not as good as AD, I don't believe, but they
No.
get compared in terms of how they play. And Bam, I remember you tweeted that Bam only took 5 shots tonight. Every one of them, I think, were him trying to dunk the basketball. Like he tried to dunk every single time on the
Yeah.
Celtics, like every single time he touched it. And I thought that's something that AD can kind of work into his game. And he kind of like Kyrie has some of this as well, where like Kyrie's so skilled that like he'll make the shots way more difficult than they have to be. He'll get to the rim and will like 360 spin, 2 double reverse layup. It's like, dude, you had your left hand wide open. Like just take the basket. And AD does some of that too, where like the rim's right there, but yeah, he takes this push floater shot, which he can hit. That's a tough shot. Even though he hits it at a respectable percentage, you can take one more dribble and dunk on the guy. Like that's to me the stuff
Yeah.
that he's really able to do. And I want to see him do that more. And interesting, I was looking at Bam's stats. Like Bam shot 0% from 3 2 years ago. He shot 8% from 3 last year. He's taken that out of his game. He's like, I do
Yeah.
not need to take 3-point jump shots. They're all flowed into dribble handoffs. And I'm not saying Anthony Davis should completely remove jump shooting from his game, but it's like I think change in mindset that they've done for him where like he's like, no, you roll to the basket, you go hard. and if you're at the rim, try to dunk it. Another thing that I think AD can really work on, he slips so many screens, Anthony, and I'm not sure if this is like
Yeah.
a contact prevention thing or trying to
Hmm.
lower how much contact he gets, but it really messes up the flow of our offense. Like he'll set
Yeah.
he'll go to set 3 screens in a possession and nothing come of it because he slips them all before he gets any contact, and it messes up our guards offense and his where he's not open and the guard's not open, and you didn't accomplish anything by that. So I think those are the things that he can really help himself with. But I mean, he was 8 for 13 last night. He had another 18 rebounds or something
Yeah.
yesterday from the 18 rebounds, 11 for 18. So I thought he did his job at least. But yeah, I agree with you. I think there should be more. It's not just about the dunks, right? It's the mentality to go in and be like, no, I'm bigger and stronger and more physical than you can even imagine to be, and I'm a dunk on your head every time. But instead, like, he gets a mismatch against Bruce Brown, he's like, let me take him to the free throw line and elevate over him. Yeah, I mean, you can hit that at a respectable pace, but I think dunking on him just it causes a lot more dominoes, which would help him and the team's game.
I think part of it is he's kind of cognizant. He is very cognizant of like the charge possibility that like if he turns like, they have, I think on 2 or 3 different occasions so far this series just fallen and it gets the call. But that's where like, Shaq realized this.
On the charge.
Yeah, like Shaq realized like, okay, Vlade is just gonna fall if no matter what I do here. So every so often, maybe I get away with it, probably won't, but every so often I'm gonna stick my entire arm into this guy's entire ancestry, and his 5th removed uncle is gonna feel the thud that is up against his chest here, and like Joel Embiid will do that too sometimes, right? Where somebody will go in and step in and take a charge. He'll see the charge coming, and he'll be like, you know what? I have 5 other ones. Wham! Like, and you watch the charges that AD will have called against them, and they are all like, most of them are flops because he's not really the kind of guy who's going to hit people hard enough to like actually commit a charge. But I wish he would. Like, I wish like just once, he would go in there and like you said, some of it I think is legitimately injury prevention, right? Like that he like the more that he gets up there and really tries to elevate, the more he feels like he is more open to getting hurt, right? And that's always something to keep in mind there. But
Sure.
but at some point, man, like he is still in this series the most physically gifted person in it, right? Like at this stage of his career. Usually you would say LeBron, but that was the case like 5 years ago, right? Maybe a couple years ago. Right now, the most physically imposing person, when you combine physicality and speed and athletic explosiveness, is still AD.
Yeah.
And you just would never know it by watching him. He turns into this jump shooter, and it's these fadeaway jumpers, and it's these floaters and stuff, and it's just like, it's cool that you can do that, but like, what you can do that the vast majority of everybody else on the face of the planet can't, is dunk on people. Like there is nobody like Aaron Gordon has even kind of like, he doesn't elevate in the same way that he used to. So there's literally nobody on the court at any point while AD is out there who can challenge him at the rim. If he really wants to explode towards the rim, there is nobody who can get there and meet him at the rim like that. Except for Jeff Green, weirdly, who like is going to be 67 years old and still dunking on people.
And dunking, yeah.
But like beyond that, it's just I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for the LeBron game where he has like 30 something points and just absolutely puts on a show, which I don't think we're going to get in year 38 of his life. But I do think it's not too much to ask AD to go out there and have that dunk that brings down the house. Like have that dunk that forces a timeout. Like that's what I would love to see.
Me too. Yeah, and I think he has that capability in him. I think it's disappointing like that. Like Jokic had foul trouble yesterday. I didn't think Jokic had foul trouble because he was taking away the rim from Anthony Davis or from LeBron on tries, right? A lot of it, I think it was like an offensive foul, a loose ball foul, and stuff like that. So I think he's got to put the pressure on the refs. It's a lot of Anthony, it's a lot of like get a little bit of contact and then look at the refs like, hey, like he hit my
Yeah.
wrist, and they're like,
Right.
so like it goes the
Yeah.
other way, you know. They're not even listening to that. That's the stuff like you got to go try to dunk the basketball and try to, you know, put the onus on the refs to make a call or have there be so much contact that you're actually initiating it and you're forcing it, you know, upon them. So I think he still has that. I'm hoping tomorrow we get a masterclass game from him, from LeBron. Both those guys. 80 had 40 in game one. I think last night was like what 28. Probably gonna need a 30.9 from him. Probably gonna need 30 from LeBron to win because Denver is just that good, and I think they're gonna try to end it tomorrow. I don't see them coming out lackadaisical or without effort. So hopefully that we can steal this one. I don't want the season to end on a sweep. That would be disappointing in terms of the momentum and the resilience that this team has shown for the second half of the year.
No matter the outcome, Raj and I are going to be there talking right after the game. Hopefully, you know, enjoying a win. Hopefully, you know, having that glimmer of hope. You know, just it's like that tiny little bit of hope. Like, hey, you know, they showed
If
some
anyone
stuff
can do
here.
it, LeBron
They
James.
didn't start D'Angelo Russell, and they looked quite a bit better. Maybe. But we'll see how that goes. But like I said, regardless of how it goes, Raj and I are going to be there to talk about it. And I am going to record a lowdown here in a second as well to get you guys ready for some of that stuff, as well as some of the rumors that we're starting to get as it pertains to the offseason. So I'll hit on that here in the lowdown later tonight. But until then, and until the next time I talk to you guys, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Raj Chapalu. This is the